Hi, it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another video edition of Widower Wednesday. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and today I'm going to answer a question that was posted on the Dating a Widower Facebook group, and this is the question. When is it appropriate for the widower to stop attending fundraisers or other public events that honor the late wife? I thought it was a great question, one that I haven't been asked before. I know I've done some videos or there's other material on my website in the past on whether or not the woman dating a widower should actually attend these events and whether or not it's a good thing. But I haven't really been asked, when is it appropriate for the widower to stop attending, or is it appropriate for him to stop? Is this something he should keep doing? So we're going to answer that question today. But first, let me go in and define which kind of events that we're talking about here. Just so you know, we're not talking about visits to the cemetery on special days, or maybe a get together with the family, where maybe they get together with family members or extended family on special days. I'm not talking really about these little private kind of events or memorials. What I'm talking about are more public kind of events, and you've probably seen them or maybe even been invited to them yourself. So like, say the late wife has died of cancer, they'll do whatever, a 5K run to stop or to raise funds for whatever kind of cancer she's in. Or maybe, if the late wife took her own life, there could be, some kind of silent auction or something to benefit suicide awareness. There could be, I don't know, if she was killed by a drunk driver, again, some kind of other activity, to again raise funds to prevent drunk driving or raise awareness or whatever it is. So these are the kind of events that I'm talking about. And before I get to my answer, I just want to kind of maybe go around the concern that I see a little bit about these events. Generally, the concern isn't that maybe the widower is attending the event, or that whatever he's running in the race, or donating stuff to the silent auction, or whatever the case may be. That's generally not the concern. The concern really is twofold. One is the amount of time maybe the widower spends. He could be a central part of this this event, or the central part of the event. And so maybe he spends a lot of time planning and preparing, and days or weeks, months in advance, spends a lot of time getting stuff ready. And so there's the time commitment really is the concern here. And the second concern that I kind of see is that this event kind of throws the widower back into the past. So, maybe again, they're doing a fundraiser or whatever, a run for the wife who died of cancer, and because he's participating so much in the planning or in this event himself, he kind of gets moody, he gets withdrawn, he's thinking about the past a lot, and the person, and the woman dating him can sense that there's kind of a big change in him around this time, and they kind of dread it. So that's really the complaints that I see. The complaint, usually if they're talking about the event, it's should I go? And honestly, most women are willing to say, if you want to attend this event, it's fine. But but the widowers tend to be caught up in the event so much that it causes problems in the relationship. So that's really, when you read between the lines or when you talk to people about this, that's really the concern. Again, it's not necessarily the event itself, but the amount of time and resources and energy and focus that the widower puts into the event, I think, is the bigger concern here. So with that being said, my advice, or my answer, I guess, to the question is, when is it appropriate for the widower to stop attending these events that honor the late wife? I would say that if the widower is engaged or remarried, I see no reason for the widower to keep attending these events. Now, let me give you some reasons for that. If you disagree or have other thoughts, please go ahead and leave a comment below. So one of the questions I get, one of the things I always talk about here on these Widower Wednesday videos is the importance of looking forward, living in the present and looking forward, and not living in the past and looking back. And so my first concern with this event would be, is it something that really causes you to kind of lose focus on maybe the blessings and the people in your life now, and focus on the past and what you've lost? And so I would expand that by saying, for a widower who's maybe thinking about this, or maybe is kind of thinking, Abel, you're an idiot, what are you saying? I would ask yourself, how does participating in this event strengthen your current marriage or your current relationship? So again, you're in a serious relationship, but you're spending lots of time preparing for this event, or planning it, or maybe you're a central part of it. How does that strengthen your marriage, or does it strengthen your marriage? And, that's a question I can't answer. That's one you've got to answer, but I think it's an important question, and it goes back to my philosophy again is, are we doing things, are we engaged in activities, are we doing things that strengthen current relationships and help us move forward and look forward and live in the present, or are we doing things that, are kind of based in the past and past things? So that's the first kind of reason, or maybe the question to ask yourself. The second question I'd ask yourself is, why are you still attending these events? Is it, because is it because it's just become a tradition? Is it something that you do? Is it something that you even enjoy doing? Are you doing it out of a sense of obligation? Do you feel like you're letting, I don't know, whatever, people in the community down? Are you letting friends and family down? Are you doing it for your kids? Is it, are you doing it because you think your kids are important? And if that's your reasoning, that's fine. But I would ask yourself, have you asked your kids recently if this is something that they still want to do or that they enjoy doing? So I think it's one thing, again, to attend an event and maybe support your kids, or maybe, again, just attend the event itself. It's something else if you're putting hours and hours and weeks or months of your life into planning this event and things like that. And then I would also ask yourself, what is my mood like? Does planning for this event, does participating in this event affect your mood? Does it affect the way that your outlook on life? Are you more sad? Are you more grumpy? Are you moody? I don't know. Fill in a blank there. And I guess that question kind of ties back to, is this event strengthening my current relationship? But it's probably a good question to ask. How is it affecting your mood? And the final question I would ask yourself is, what would happen if you didn't attend? And maybe a lot of that depends on the role that you have in this event, if you're a central part of it or not. But, would the event still go on if you didn't attend? Would the funds still be raised? Is this something where maybe you can, write a check instead of actually attending? Or, I would even ask, again, if you're a central part of this, but maybe it's causing stress in your marriage, is there someone else who's maybe lost a spouse in a similar way, or maybe is dedicated to the cause that can maybe step in and fill in your shoes? So, just some questions to think about and ask. And again, every situation is different, every person is different, all the circumstances are different. But again, I'll still stand by this. I'll still stand by it. And if you can convince me otherwise, leave a comment, send me an email, whatever. But again, I'm going to say I see no reason to attend them if you have remarried or you are engaged to someone. I would also add that if you've already committed to some kind of event, maybe fulfill that obligation, but there's no point I see to do them in the future. And one thing to think about too is, if you read the Ultimate Dating Guide for Widowers, one of the people I talk about in there is Paul McCartney. And after his wife Linda died, he married a few years later. He married Heather Mills. And one of the things that he did throughout their relationship that caused a huge source of contention in the relationship is that he kept doing these honorary concerts in Linda's memory, or these fundraiser things. And it's something that, I can't remember how long he and Heather were married now, 8-9 years or something like that. It seems like these things just went on, and where they were a constant source of frustration. And, again, it's just something to think about. But I think at some point it's appropriate to kind of move on and start a life, acknowledge the new chapter in your life. And again, that doesn't mean you can't support the cause. It doesn't mean that, maybe you show up for that day and run the 5K or donate stuff to the silent auction, or even buy something, from the silent auction. I'm not saying you can't support the cause anymore. And I'm not saying either that your late wife's name should be removed from any of these events. But what I am saying is, maybe it's time to take stock of, is this something I really need to fully participate in, or is it something I can maybe back off, and the cause and the funds and everything else still goes on. Anyway, this has been the latest edition of Widower Wednesday. Feel free to subscribe. You can comment below. And again, if you disagree or you want to know more, go ahead, just leave a comment below and I'll get back to you. I'm Abel Keogh, author of the book Dating a Widower, and I'll see you next Wednesday.